Very green.
Holy moly.
Great job! Yeah! This guy.
Thank you. Wow.
Hell yeah. Woo-hoo! Great job, man!
Now we got a crash. Car spinning left and right.
Buddy, let her rip. Rain like hell, baby! Come on! Oh my god, guys! Yes! Yes! Unbelievable! You guys are the best! Yes, 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 yes! Oh, what a year!
What's up, everybody? We're finally live with the NASCAR Weekly Podcast, and I've somewhat fixed my my headphones from last week.
I see it dangling.
Did you
just duct tape it?
Yeah, I just got some blue duct tape. Got to fit the channel. Everything's in blue tonight.
And we get this man some super chats for a new headset tonight, guys.
Yeah, help him out.
I don't have to do this anymore. I can hear just fine. But yes, we are finally live. We just had to figure out a few things. Make sure that we could, well, you'll see later in the show. But first, before we go any further, I want to thank our first sponsor for tonight, Moby. Moby, if you can see, all of us have beautiful beards. Look at, you can see my neck here.
Except for Darian.
Yeah,
I don't have it.
He can't grow that. But
it worked too well
we
for
can.
him.
Yeah, there you go. We can.
He
But
all the settings.
look how good and well shaped mine is. Very even. That's because of Moby. Moby offers state-of-the-art, innovative men's grooming devices, and they can serve basically any function. They can be trimmers, they can be detailers, they can just shave everything all together, as you can see with all of us. So I think Eric has it up right now.
Yeah, check it
a
out.
flashlight.
I know it looks very futuristic, but it feels great in the hand. It's got some silicone bristles right here that deliver powerful sonic vibration. So it's not just a one-trick pony. It's got all the tricks inside of one very beautifully packaged pony. So be sure to check out Moby. We've got the link down in the description. You can find where they're located at the nearest Walmart near you. Try to turn my light back on. Or you can check you can surf their website for all the other great Moby products that they offer, besides the fantastic and brand new beard trimmer. That's the thing. This is a brand new company. This is a brand new state-of-the-art beard trimmer. So things are going to continue to get better from Moby.
And we really want to thank them, too, for supporting the show. It means a ton to us, and I'm sure to all of you, too. I see in the chat, it glows. I love it. But yeah.
Gotta get a Moby.
Well, I think what we also got to do is we got to get into this past weekend at Fontana. Man, there was a ton to talk about. And by the way, I do have the Super Chats up. That's part of the reason we took a little while is because my dumb butt, I'm not going to cuss, couldn't pull them up for some reason, so these three had to help me. So we will get to those. I just want to say that right now. But as for the race at Fontana, I mean, I think right away we should start is with Toyota. Like in the first stage, I think it was, they had 4 different Toyotas that were overheating. Kyle Busch, Bubba Wallace, Denny Hamlin, and Christopher Bell. And I think Bell and Kyle Busch had the worst of it, to be completely honest. So Danny, kind of start us off with, the chaos, basically, starting with Toyota.
So what the heck happened for Kyle Busch to be considered like one of the top favorites going into this race? And then he goes and puts on quite arguably one of his worst performances that we've seen from him in a lot of years. And going outside of that, we saw guys that I never expected to be doing this good this early in the season, doing good. Eric Jones, especially, I want to give a shout out to him more so than Tyler Reddick. Tyler Reddick obviously had a very dominating run early on, but we've at least seen somewhat of a competitive ride out of RCR over the last couple of years. But seeing the 43 car back up front, leading laps, contending for a win, man, that's such a good sight to see. Whether it was all the guys who drove it for years, Eric Almirola, Bubba Wallace, or Eric Jones, you wanted to see that car doing well. The 43 doing good is good for NASCAR entirely. But I'm happy to see Eric Jones having a good day like that. Disappointed, honestly, he didn't take the underdog win there in the end of it. But what did you guys think? Let's start with Eric. What did you think?
Yeah, I mean, going back to the Toyota conversation for just a moment, they both kind of tie together. Like the last year, pretty much every year, Joe Gibbs Racing is one of the teams to beat. They were a non-factor all day at Auto Club. I don't think any Gibbs cars finished in the top 10. Kyle Busch, I'm with you. from the drop of the green flag, fell back, spun out like on lap 20, and it just didn't get much better from there. Well, it did. He went from being a few laps down to actually back on the lead lap at the end. So I will credit Kyle Busch and that whole team some championship level perseverance to still scrap together a top 15 finish. But although all around, Joe Gibbs Racing was a non-factor. Meanwhile, Chevrolet, and not just the Hendrick cars. I know Bowman was up front a little bit. Byron was near the front. Chase Elliott led some laps. Kyle Larson won the race. I know Hendrick was great, but the RCR and RCR affiliate teams, like obviously Tyler Reddick is an RCR car, Eric Jones, Petty GMS, they have an RCR alignment. I think Trackhouse at least gets engines from Childress. So they were the ones that really showed out. They impressed the heck out of me, and I think out of most fans all race long. So that was the big takeaway. Fords, hit or miss. Some look good, some look bad. Chevys across the board, fantastic. Toyotas, though, it sounds like they might have fixed some of that overheating stuff for Las Vegas. At least they say they have. But for the time being, Toyotas were lagging behind.
Well, and Darian, kind of going on the RCR front, I mean, most of the first 60 to 70% of that race was Reddick versus Eric Jones. And I mean, the other cool thing, and I know this isn't part of the RCR, but the other cool thing about having an underdog up there was Chase Briscoe too. So, Darian, you called this a while ago. Now, you kind of uncalled it because you're the master jinxer, but kind of talk about the way that those two up front, it just seemed like they had a stranglehold on the field until like the field, the track caught up, and then the field caught up to Jones. But kind of take us through that first 70% or so when it looked like this was a done race between the 8 and the 43.
Oh yeah, no, RCR. I mean, early on they seemed to have their stuff figured out, and it's quite funny because we had a couple of sources tell us that RCR was like putting all their eggs into the hopefully that NASCAR would return to a 550 type horsepower package, but it seems like to be the exact opposite because I mean Tyler Reddick was just dominant, and again this car is supposed to showcase not only parity but a driver's true talent. And, we talked about Tyler Reddick being, a potential Kyle Larson type driver for, the next few years. And then also Eric Jones, man. Eric Jones, it was so satisfying to see him outperform all 4 Joe Gibbs Racing cars. I mean, they basically jettisoned him like way too early than I thought they should have. And then, Christopher Bell, I mean, ever since taking over the 20, he hasn't done like too much, like all that great. I mean, like it's not terrible. Yeah, it's like about the same, so it's not like it's way better in terms of performance. So it's great to see him get another shot with a competitive team. And then, towards the end, I mean, Austin Dillon and Daniel Suarez there. If Daniel Suarez would have held it on the top lane, I think he would have had a better chance at beating Kyle Larson and stuff. It still would have been tough, but I think his chances would have been better. He was saying after the race, his car just got tight when he got on the bottom. Still ends up with a top 5. And then Austin Dillon was running in P2 there towards the end as well. So I don't know. RCR, they seem to have it figured out early on.
The thing that I liked about it is it was very much, and I think we can all agree, very much a talent-based race. Like, these cars were absolutely out of control from basically unloading them off the truck in practice.
Literally.
Yeah, in practice, qualifying. I mean, the Xfinity cars were the same way, but these ones seemed even harder to drive. And to be completely real, when it comes to intermediate tracks, it's probably the first time since 2019 that we can say that it was probably harder to drive a Cup car at an intermediate track than an Xfinity car. And something I wanted to kind of bring up with you guys is that it seemed like those who were like underdogs up front are ones that for years people have said are really good, or we've known that there's potential, but there's limitations with the equipment, the package, whatever it might be. Tyler Reddick, everyone says that he's just waiting to explode and erupt. I mean, Kyle Larson even said he was going to blow up this year really well. Austin Dillon has been a perennial underdog and really
he makes the playoffs more times than not. That's what surprises people.
Daniel Suarez and Eric Jones, 2 people that I think, some of us on this panel even kind of left for dead almost after they kind of got jettisoned from JGR, showed out pretty well. Now, I get it's one race, but I want to start with you, Eric. Like, do you think this is a trend we're going to see for a majority of the season, start of the season? Like, I think Tyler Reddick's probably the one that we're pretty sure is going to do pretty well with this. But of any of these guys, which ones do you think are like going to continue to show out?
Yeah, like I do think at some point this year we will see the big teams start to pull ahead a little bit. I think by the end of this season it will be Gibbs, Hendrick, Penske, maybe SHR will be the top contenders. But like you said, Tyler Reddick and I'd say both drivers at Richard Childress Racing have the best chance of the rest, I think, of joining that group, just because at least those two have made the playoffs in recent years. Reddick made the playoffs last year. Austin Dillon, he's made the playoffs, I think, 4 of the last 6 years. People don't realize that Austin Dillon, he's got some fluky wins, sure, but he's also consistent enough to make the playoffs in RCR equipment. I think he deserves a little bit of credit for that. Eric Jones, Petty GMS, Trackhouse. I know I had Chastain sneaking into the playoffs in my preseason predictions. I think it's still possible that another one of those smaller teams sneaks in. I'll say I'm encouraged to start this year because if you look at the first 2, drivers racetracks that we've raced at this year, if you include the Clash, Tyler Reddick, Austin Dillon, and Eric Jones have all been in the top 5 more often than not. Mm-hmm. So I think there's something to certain drivers figuring out this new car. And Eric Jones, he's a Truck Series champion, almost an Xfinity champion. Austin Dillon's an Xfinity champion. Tyler Reddick's a 2-time Xfinity champion. These guys can race. These guys can drive. And now that the cars are a little more equal, at least at the beginning of this season, this is their chance to strike. Eric Jones finished second in both stages. Tyler Reddick, I know he wrecked out later, but he did win both stages. They collected a ton of points. And I think he got to jump early this season before the Gibbs and the Hendricks, the people with the best people, the best resources, even though many of the resources are the same now, before they eventually get a hold and start to beat the field.
Well, and Danny, kind of take us through here. There was, at least in my opinion, a lot more parity on there were a few that stayed up front, obviously, but there was a lot of parity, it seemed like, in those who were going to the front, going to the back. Who, when it comes to on the other end, like of those who just didn't run up front for most of the day, who surprised you in a bad way this past weekend?
I would say Kevin Harvick. I feel like he might have been up there some, but I didn't notice him up there.
He snuck into the top 10, but he spent most of the race outside of the top 20.
I think that's what disappoints me the most so far is Kevin Harvick. Obviously, last year going winless after what happened, and you're just starting to wonder at this point, okay, is it going to rebound, or are we in a Jimmy Johnson situation where we just watched him go out with his last swing in 2020, and then now he's coasting downhill from here? And for Chase Briscoe to go out there and do good, and even I felt like Cole Custer, having the momentum of that win in the Xfinity Series, I feel like Cole Custer is one of those guys who needs to get his Cup career going too. Both those guys put, in my opinion, a little bit better performance than Harvick, who consistently should be the class of the SHR field. So I would say out of those that disappointed me, it would be Kevin Harvick. What do you think, Darian?
I am the most disappointed in these freaking Toyotas, man. I mean, right from the start, they were just, everything went downhill. I mean, the overheating issues, and we'll get into some of the flaws with the next gen later on in the show. But like somebody had pointed out to me, oh, one of the flaws of this next gen is like some of these cars are having overheating problems. And I'm thinking, no, like everyone else is fine. It's just the freaking Toyotas and stuff. And then I don't know, just, on pure speed alone too, like I think I only saw one Toyota basically running inside the top 10 consistently all day, and that was Denny Hamlin. After that, that was about it. Christopher Bell had a DNF, and then Kyle Busch, man, I haven't seen Kyle Busch have that bad of a race in a very long time. And then
still finished 14th.
Yeah, still finished 14th though. So that's how good he is usually, So and then finally the 2311 cars. I thought Kurt Busch would do a tad bit better, and Bubba Wallace, he ran right where I thought he would too.
He crashed while running 10th.
Yeah, I know. Well, as soon as he starts to run inside the top 10, he has some sort of issue. But yeah, without a doubt, in my opinion, the Toyotas were probably the most disappointing. I'll give Kevin Harvick a bit of a pass for this, because as soon as they unloaded the car, he wrecked like 2 minutes into the practice session, and then they had to spend the rest of the that practice time and qualifying time fixing up the car. And he was able to get himself inside the top 10 and was flirting with the top 5 towards the end there for a moment, I think too. So I'll give him a pass. We'll see where he is 7 to 9 races from now.
I at least want to mention Brad Keselowski. He impressed me bringing that 6 car up to, I think, 3rd at one point. But, he was involved in 2 incidents at Daytona, and he was involved in 2 incidents this weekend at Auto Club.
And who did he take out in this incident again? Harrison freaking Burton
again. Harrison Burton, man. He can't catch a break.
That guy is cursed. Now, I want to bring something up really quick. Like, we've talked about how many different people have been jumping up through there. I was going to put this in the lightning round, but I think it's just too cool not to mention when we were talking about the race itself. There have been 19 drivers who have scored top 10s in the opening 2 races. The last time that happened was 1973. Now, and I don't know if you're looking at it right now, but if you haven't, who would you have guessed would be that driver? That one driver that has 2 top 10s.
Martin, Kyle, who?
Who is it?
Eric Almirola.
Oh!
Yes.
What?
IDK
Wow,
called
he's
it.
on the
He called
comeback
it
trail.
Daytona. Eric Almirola, champion already.
And he spun out in the race too. I'd forgotten about that.
Yep.
Alvarez won the
He came back.
championship confirmed.
Now, I want to say,
Lame duck, no more.
I want to say something really cool too. I wish I would have put it on here to like show everybody. But did you see Austin Cindric's onboard for the last lap? It was like
Yes,
the
it was
perfect
crazy.
onboard.
He avoided 3 wrecks, dude. 3.
I would say that save by Blaney was just
That was epic.
god tier. God
He
tier.
did lose like 10 positions,
Yeah,
but it could have been
also-
worse. Could have
But
been
also,
worse.
let me add to Blaney too, because like I was on iRacing that night, and apparently someone had said the stat. His pit crew, like throughout the race, cost him an average of 6 spots throughout the day. Like his pit
Ooh, I
crew was
noticed a
that
couple.
bad. Like he would always bring that 12 car up inside the top 3, and then after a pit stop, he would lose like 6, 7, 8 positions every single time.
Yep, every time. And that's what sucks is because he looked like one of the few who could keep up in the first half of the race with Reddick and with Jones. Not like passing by any means, but at least keep them in the same zip code. And like his crew just absolutely crapped the bed.
Every time, yeah.
Now, we talk about crews, but I think we got to talk about drivers. Where do we start? I forgot my milk and cookies at home here, but Chase Elliott and Kyle Larson. It's went from the fans fighting each other to now the drivers. And I want to start off with you, Danny, because I have to think that had to be a really interesting time at the Baldwin household. What is your take on the new little HMS rivalry we got?
So, obviously the main story there is Chase and Kyle kind of like fighting for dominance, but also I feel like there's also something that's got to be there with Byron and Bowman, because they're kind of like the outside fiddles, if that makes sense. And I just got to ask this: what the heck was Byron doing there when he crashed into Reddick?
I'll tell you what happened. Now, you see, I had put out a tweet a couple months ago, in the offseason. I had said, be on the lookout in 2022. Chase Briscoe, Tyler Reddick, William Byron, they are all going to score multiple wins in 2022. It was even liked by Chase Briscoe, so he was even feeling himself during the offseason as well. They all ran inside the top 3 at one point during the race. And then all of a sudden, Tyler Reddick loses his freaking tire, and then boom, William Byron just like freaking hits him on the outside there.
Outside of the Darian Jinx, though, I'm just asking, how do you do that? Like, just
I don't know.
drive around
That's the
him.
thing. I don't know. That's the thing. I'm assuming his spotter didn't let him know.
I'm assuming he got loose, probably trying to avoid it. Like,
yeah,
It just didn't make sense to me how he just shot up like that.
But kind of going back to the Larson v. Elliott. One, I just love that I don't have a driver anymore that I like pull for every week. Because watching these fan bases go at it is one of the most fun things. It's so fun. Like, Darian can attest to this. At Martinsville, Elliott and Larson fans were at the point of fighting each other.
They were so
in turn,
toxic.
turn 2.
They were so toxic.
My
all the
driver's
time.
better. No, my driver's better.
Those
No, it was
two,
worse than that.
Like, it seems like they hate each other. It's kind of like Gordon and Johnson back in like 2010. Where
Well,
it's like,
I will say you're exactly right, because Claudia, I'm noticing she looks and acts like I do, or like I did about Jimmy Johnson as a Dale Jr. fan for all those years, because she's a Chase Elliott fan, and now there's new guy taking all the big wins for her guy. So you're exactly right.
I can't remember who tweeted this. I did see this on Twitter, and it was a good point. Somebody can remind me in the chat who said it, but Chase Elliott looked to be the guy. He was Jeff Gordon's replacement, and he was finally coming in his own, winning multiple races a year. The guy at Hendrick Motorsports for the next decade plus just signed a 5-year extension. And here comes Kyle Larson in his first year to blow every Chase Elliott stat out the water. Was it you?
I tweeted that. Oh, he's gonna be second fiddle again.
It might have been you. I don't remember who. I saw it from like a couple of people. Well done, Darian. I see you up there.
You're not wrong though. Chase Elliott wins 5 races in his championship year plus an All-Star. Kyle Larson goes out and wins
doubles it. Well, okay, but going to this specific incident, I want to get down to this specific incident because Chase Elliott fans have every right to be pissed off. Like they do. Like in this instance, it sounds like, well, Kyle Larson's spotter took the blame for it, and you heard that replay. He was late calling Elliott's move to the outside. So I don't think you can blame the driver in this case, but you can still blame the 5 team. It was that group that cost Chase Elliott. He might not have won the race, but he was making a move to the lead with like 5 laps to go or whatever, 8 laps to go. He cost him a good finish at the very least. You could argue this is very similar to the Harvick Elliott incident at Bristol last year, where Harvick, I don't think intentionally tried to rub up into Elliott's tire and cut his tire, but he made an aggressive move, and that's what happened. Kyle Larson and his spotter were being aggressive, late on the block, and it cost Chase Elliott's race. So just as Chase Elliott had a right to be mad, I think, at Kevin Harvick, I think he has a right to be mad at Kyle Larson. Now, a lot of people I've seen, a lot of fans have been really upset with Chase Elliott for intentionally spinning out a couple laps later.
I don't think he did personally.
I don't think he did.
I think he did.
I think he did, but I also don't really care. Like, so fans are pissed when teammates help each other out to win. Here's a teammate spinning out on purpose to help his teammate lose. Like, at some point, it's just people are spinning out. NASCAR should try to penalize them if they can tell that it's 100% on purpose. But I'm not going to lose my mind over intentionally spinning out like that. I'm not, especially when you're mad at teammates, at your teammate. If he was doing that to help his teammate, but that's one thing. But he was doing that at the expense of his teammate. I don't know.
But that's something to argue there. That is the privilege of being NASCAR's most popular driver. If Byron or Bowman did that, that's probably a strike to consider moving on from them.
I want to point something out here that's really funny, is that me and Darian are the two that like to troll Chase Elliott fans the most, and we're the ones defending him, saying that he didn't intentionally spin out.
Yeah, I'll defend him on that one.
I'm almost certain he had said that something in the rear end was broke like right after it happened, and his car was messed up after that.
And Matt Kenseth said he blew a right front. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I think it was on purpose. But you're right. He did radio before the spin that something was broke. So it's possible. Which is why I don't think NASCAR penalized him.
I just want to say I loved the animation on the radio from him though.
Oh, I have
I have ripped on him before about it. Granted, I've cooled off in the last couple of years but people have ripped on him that he has no personality. Like
sandpaper.
That passion was awesome to hear.
Yeah.
I mean, when you could hear it with the beeps.
Do you think that passion? Do you think Chase Elliott is building some resentment towards Larson winning? Like, obviously, you can't say he's jealous. Like, oh, Larson's winning all these races. But do you think it's eating away at him that he's got a guy not just in the Cup Series, another young driver in the Cup Series, but another guy under the same roof as him who's dominating him on a week-to-week basis since he's arrived? Like, do you think Chase Elliott's starting to get frustrated by that? Like, this was my team, and now it's not anymore. Do you think that's where some of that emotion's coming from?
It would not surprise me. I mean, I don't think it's to the point where, like, yeah, you just said, oh, I hate this guy, blah blah blah. But like, I mean,
you can't hate a guy for being good, but you can be annoyed.
I mean, like, he was the guy. He was, he was, the Hendrick Motorsports future and stuff. And then all of a sudden, Kyle Larson comes in and stuff. And
I have a theory about this. I think Elliott and Elliott fans have to be in the same boat here, in my opinion. Elliott and Elliott fans right now are where Jeff Gordon and Jeff Gordon fans were from 2007 to about 2010.
Jeff Gordon and Jeff Gordon?
Jeff Gordon fans, I should say. But and grant there is a crossover, but the thing is, it's like, as a junior fan, I could hold it pretty good every year after 2010 that my driver was one of the 10 best out there. But I knew that at Hendrick Motorsports, he was the third, sometimes fourth best. And maybe, I will say, like 2014-15, he outperformed Jimmy Johnson. And he did outperform Jeff Gordon. But he was never definitively the best guy at the team, even in his best years. But for Jeff Gordon fans, like, where Jeff Gordon for years is just owning the sport, and then Jimmy Johnson comes along, I think they, especially since they've, for the most part, moved on to Chase Elliott, are in the exact same position again a couple years later. And now you have that also wave of younger fans in there that add all the extra resentment. I think that Chase Elliott fans have to accept that their driver is like the 3rd to 5th best driver out there. He's insanely talented. That should not be discounted whatsoever. But Kyle Larson's the best driver out there. He is second fiddle at Hendrick Motorsports, and until there's a definitive change of performance, it's gonna stay like that, and they need to accept that. Like
what scared me is that Larson was beating Elliott at road courses last year. That's what it was like. Whoa,
that's his bread and butter.
Okay.
It's like here we go.
And I just want to say this, Jared just said that Larson is second fiddle, but in terms of the popularity, not by much. Because I can tell you this as a Alex Bowman fan who has to wait in the same line for merchandise haulers as Kyle Larson fans,
That's right.
Please get the man his own hauler. I don't want to wait forever just for a Bowman t-shirt.
At this point, he does deserve his own haul.
I just had to throw it out there. I saw a big debate this week on the hauler debate versus the old Fanatics tent thing. And what got me kind of on the side of Fanatics tent was just thinking, man, I really do have to wait behind all those Larson fans.
I want to say this. I think this is the reason, on top of nostalgia, they got rid of that. While we're on this segue,
that makes me laugh
I saw
so
people
hard.
at Michigan in 2016 stealing stuff, and there was no way they had enough guards to get stuff away with it. I didn't. I'm not the greatest kid growing up, and I was not bad like that. I do not steal.
Oh my god.
But I'm sorry, you can't steal from those haulers unless you go to the open back door behind there.
And then remember after Daytona, remember one of them was open too.
Yeah.
And you was like, dude, somebody just
I'm like, someone could just walk up, but the tent's like, let's just
I don't prefer it. Yeah, I don't prefer it.
I feel like people on Twitter are nostalgic about everything from 2016. But anyway, back to the war at hand. I think for now it's resolved, personally. But I don't think this is over by any means. I really don't. I think that this is too early in the season for them already to be like this towards each other. And it's I won't say boiling over, but it's carrying over from last year. And Elliott is going to get his wins this year. There's no way you can tell me he's going to go winless to the playoffs. They're going to be completely safe and in. Larson is completely safe and in. But if it comes down to Elliott v. Larson, I personally don't see Larson taking it too far and crashing Elliott to make it to the next round or make it or win a championship. Elliott's going to dump Larson if that's the case. When push comes to shove, I don't care. There's no way you can tell me that he doesn't resent Larson right now. There's no way you can tell me that he's not going to remember this. And there's no way you can tell me that as good as these two are, they're not going to meet up going for a win in an important time of the season. No way. I'm sorry.
I certainly think if Larson, I think you're right. It's mostly done for now. We're not going to see Elliott race Larson any differently, at least not until maybe the championship. Mm-hmm. But throughout, it's a long season. If Larson looks at Elliott funny, gives him a bump draft at a bad time, blocks him on pit road, I think Elliott's close to a boiling point. It's not going to take much to pit. He's not going to pile drive Larson into the fence anywhere. He's not going to do what Harvick did to Chase at the Roval last year. He's not going to do that. But he might spin him. He might rough him up at a road course here or there. He's not going to cut him any breaks. And I don't think he should. I think it was an accident by Larson and his spotter, but it was still an accident that cost Chase Elliott a shot at the win. So he has a right to be mad, and he has a right to pay him back at some point if he gets wronged again.
If Chase Elliott is in the lead and Larson's coming up behind him, expect Chase Elliott to look like Ryan Newman out there.
Yeah, we got a long year, so be ready, and whatever happens.
Yeah, we're only at race 2. Why are we already fighting? We're only at race 2.
Yeah, let's just
keep
chill
fighting.
out. We'll chill out for a few weeks, but whatever happens, I'll be ready to troll both fan bases.
I like
that.
Yeah. Well, so kind of getting down to it, Larson, like we said, did win the race, but I want to give a few shout outs. We talked about these people being underdogs, and there's one especially I want to shout out that nobody really was looking at for 95% of this race. So Austin Dillon finished second. Eric Jones finished third. Daniel Suarez, which if you watched his last lap on board, it looked like he thought the race was over a lap early and accidentally let those two by him. But he still finished fourth. And then Daniel Hemrick finished ninth. But here's the thing. Usually ninth place finishes aren't shout-out worthy. But that man was 6 laps down at one point.
They were doing so horrible.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And if you look at the speed charts too, I saw somebody, I can't remember if it was Avery on Twitter or who it was, but somebody put the quarter by quarter by quarter by quarter speed charts for the race, and they were 34th, 31st, 32nd. Then all of a sudden, the next one's 5th fastest car out there in the last quarter of the race. that is an amazing comeback. I know that obviously the lucky dog and wave around stuff, but 6 laps down to come back from that is still impressive no matter what. So I wanted to bring that up right now.
And also, let me point out this fun fact because I just saw this. This is crazy. So Jacques Villeneuve is currently ahead of William Byron, Harrison Burton, Ross Chastain, and Christopher Bell in points after 2 races.
Love early season point standings.
Yeah.
No,
That won't last long, but it's crazy.
we've talked about the fun stuff. Now we got to talk about the one detriment from this race. Flat tires.
I don't know how he fixed it at this point, honestly.
So I think, Eric, you had the idea, if I'm not mistaken.
Somebody else had the idea. If you're talking about the portable pit crew idea,
Like a portable...
I'm pretty sure somebody else had the idea, but yeah. And basically, I don't know what NASCAR does. They're not going to do anything this weekend. They're not going to change their strategy this weekend. They're probably going to wait until after the West Coast swing when people aren't quite as strained to maybe make some changes, either to the cars themselves or to, I don't know, maybe to procedures at the track. Who knows? But basically, the problem is a guy spins out, and if he flats 2 or 3 of his tires go flat, which is pretty common, it's impossible. They just can't get going. The car just sits there. They're beached, and they can't go. So they need a tow back to their pit stall, which causes them to lose 3 or 4 laps, causes the caution period to be prolonged because you got to send a whole tow truck out there, got to hook it up, try not to damage the car, blah, blah, blah. And so it's just a mess. It delayed portions of this race. This race was longer than it needed to be because of some of those lazy spins that led to longer extended caution periods. So how do you fix it? The old cars, the old tires had inner liners, which sort of allowed most guys to limp it back around if they had a flat. The new tires, because they're lower profile to match, I don't know, the rest of the next gen's elements, they don't have inner liners. So the tire just goes completely flat. That's where the problem comes from. My idea and other people's idea is that maybe they, rather than bring out a tow truck for a flat tire, they have like a neutral sort of pit crew that can go out real quick, put on like spare tires, put on like donuts on the car so they can just kind of teeter on back to pit road, maybe only lose 1 or 2 laps. And there the crew can put fresh tires on. But I think I saw Bob Pockers tweet this, that, then you'd have issues of, maybe they'd argue that it wasn't fair. One pit crew is faster for one driver than another. Somebody said maybe like Ford has their own, Chevy has their own, Toyota has their own portable pit crews that go out and do their thing. I don't know, but it's tough at this point. Austin Dillon pointed one thing out, like if you were to raise the ride height of the cars, that would, so that, the flat tires wouldn't beach them as easily. You would also alter the racing product. The flat underbelly and the rear diffuser works best when the car's lower to the ground. And Austin Dillon pointed this out, but I think most fans and drivers would agree the racing at Auto Club was fantastic. And you don't really want to mess with any aerodynamic components this early. You don't want to risk ruining the racing product to try and fix this flat tire issue. It's a give and take deal. I don't know what they're going to do, but I guess it's up to all of our imaginations at this point.
I think at this point, I would say I'm probably in the same boat. I was watching a guy on YouTube named Bologna Burger, and he pretty much said essentially I'd give it until like Atlanta, see how much of an issue this keeps becoming, and if it is as big of an issue as we think it will be, he said, and I kind of agree with it, temporarily go back to the old tires if we have to. I don't think
you can't do that. It's not possible.
You can't do it.
It's not possible.
I don't think so.
They can't make a way to do it.
Just the size of the tire itself. Like, I don't even know. Like, the new tire's bigger, the old tire was smaller. I mean, so I guess it would fit in the wheel well, but I don't know. You'd have to rebuild parts
if they
of the
have to
cars.
rebuild it temporarily, maybe we try it. But maybe we don't do it as early as 5 races in. But if it has to be done,
I just think
it's an option to consider.
I just think a change like that would take like weeks or months probably to implement. So I don't know that that's the likeliest. I don't think that's super likely, but it's a nice thought.
Well, I don't know, like, what the solution will be and stuff, but I mean, just the fact that, we're this early into the season and like, we love the racing product so much and stuff, like the fact that this seems to be like one of the only problems with the next gen, it's a pretty good problem to have, I guess, because I mean, we could be talking about, the racing product wasn't as good and stuff, but instead we're just talking about, the cars are getting stuck, whenever there's a flat tire and stuff. I feel like they will be able to fix this in the future. How they'll be able to fix it, I don't know yet, so we'll find out.
Well, and
yeah. So go ahead, Jared.
I think right now, because obviously none of us have the expertise to know an exact way to fix it. NASCAR is smart people; they'll do it. I think they should have done this months ago when they knew this would be a problem in the tests. But that's neither here nor there. We're in this position now. The thing that I am most worried about is I think they'll have it fixed by the playoffs. I think that honestly, I think that's their main goal of when to get it fixed by. Just because you can't have somebody getting spun out by someone else's teammate in the playoffs, and they have two flat tires, and that's what causes them eventually like a championship or something. And I was just thinking, you look at Martinsville or Bristol. Let's say somebody gets spun into the corner, two flat tires, can't move. One, it's hard enough to get the safety crews out there because it's so small and compact that they have to wait for the other cars. But two, those pace laps take maybe 30 seconds, and if you lose 4 laps at Auto Club with those pace laps, Auto Club is 4 times the size of Martinsville and Bristol. You're looking at losing like 15 to 20 laps at Martinsville or Bristol. That can't happen.
The thing is, like, I think it's more of an issue we're going to see on intermediates, because if the Clash did tell us anything, there was issues, there was people who spun out, but we didn't see this happening at the Clash. So I know it's not a whole lot to go off of because of what the Clash is per se, but I don't think we saw that as an issue. So the short tracks I'm a little bit more confident in. It's the intermediates that I'm worried about.
Now,
that's probably a good point. Yeah, I don't know.
One thing I want to bring up about this race is I think this was a big test for the next gen, and it passed with glowing, ratings. I mean, everyone across the board loved it. The thing is that Auto Club is nothing like any other track. Whether you look at if you look at how big it is, it's only similar to Michigan. If you look at the surface, it's similar to pretty much none of the tracks that are on the schedule anymore.
Kind of like what Atlanta was before this year.
Yeah, there's nothing really comparable. I think this weekend is actually the real test. If we like what we see at Las Vegas, see what I did there? I think that we're in good shape for the season. If Las Vegas, because Las Vegas for the most part for me is like the one that I'm like, okay, if this one's good, Kansas should be good. If this one's good, Charlotte should be good. I'm pretty.
Maybe even Texas will be good.
Well,
oh my
gosh!
gosh!
I was gonna say honestly, Vegas is the next closest track to Texas in my opinion, as far as how I feel about it. So this will tell me a lot.
Yeah. I think that this weekend is the true litmus test. I mean, if you look in the past in history, it's been the litmus test for who makes the playoffs and who doesn't. Like this, you were going to learn a lot about who has it for real this season, what the car really has in it. You're going to learn both of those things, I think, this weekend. I don't want to like rain on the parade about Auto Club. I don't think it is comparable to many of the other races that we have left this season.
And we're going to see conditions this weekend, sort of what we saw last year for the spring Las Vegas race, where the weather was significantly cooler than it usually is, which to a lot of people brought out the best racing of the Gen 6. So I'm curious how this will play out for this car, because this is, cooler, I say like anywhere from 50 to high 60s is kind of what they're expecting this weekend. That right there is what was perfect for the Gen 6. So I'm curious how that'll do for this car.
Yeah, we're definitely going to learn a lot this weekend at Vegas, but I'm pretty sure this race will probably be better than the last race we had. I mean, like me and Eric were at that Cup playoff race and stuff, and like even us being there and stuff, it was very forgettable. But I don't know. I have a feeling this will be a good one.
Yeah. Well, something that wasn't as good this past weekend was the TV ratings. Going into it a little bit, it's not the end of the world, but it got a 2.61 rating and a 4.57 when it comes to how many million viewers it had. One positive, it was the most watched sporting event of the weekend. It actually, I think, was double the next closest, which was the NBA, on prime time. But down 4% from the Daytona Road Course race, which was the second race last year, and down 17% from the second race of 2020, which I will note that was the first after the Newman wreck. There was a lot of intrigue about it. So I mean, it's not the start NASCAR wants. There's no way. I don't think there's a way really to sugarcoat it. You could say that maybe with everything going on in the world, people are watching the news more. But
that's what I was just sitting there thinking. I was like, the only thing I can think that's really taking the eyes off of this is people being glued to Fox News, CNN, etc.
Yeah, but it's a little bit off. But again, last year was a little bit off, and it ended up, for the most part, the last like 20, 25 weeks of the year being up. But not the greatest thing, not the worst thing. Sorry, Eric, we could be baseball right now.
Hey, we might see an uptick because, baseball is not going to happen anytime soon. So, I mean, we saw it in 2011, when the NFL was having their little lockout situation. So, I don't know. From what it sounds like, though, baseball's not going to be back for a while. So, come watch NASCAR.
It's going to provide some better coverage for the college baseball. I know a lot of people watching that more.
I do think, though, that this is a combination of what Danny just mentioned, just the war, obviously, all the chaos going on in the world. It's that. But then also, again, like we've talked about this, time and time again, TV, like people are just cutting the cable cord and stuff, like everything is online. I was even watching the race on streaming.
I want to add that does count, like Hulu, YouTube TV.
It does.
Nielsen does count that. I follow, I think Cindy Yen and Jeff Gluck also tweeted it. And they both had said it does. One of them said it does.
Well, I think
those streaming services.
Kind of back up your point, though, Darren, maybe go a different direction with it. It's the nature of the media world, as we always say on this show and on other shows. There's just so many other options besides NASCAR. You know what I mean? Like if I want to be entertained right now, back in the day, right now, if this was 1958, and I wanted to be entertained, I could go to my TV and watch one of like 3 channels, or I could go outside and play catch with my son or something like that. Like that's all you could do in 1958.
I could spend time with my family.
Go on a walk in the park. Yeah, like that was all you could do. In 2022, I can be on my phone. I can be on my computer. I can talk to you guys. I can go watch TV. There's a billion channels. There's Netflix. There's billions of movies. I could just one click away. So naturally, now obviously not every sport is down, but a lot of sports and a lot of entertainment are kind of just down in general the last few years. But So that doesn't explain everything. I'm not trying to look on the bright side. Like it's unfortunate that this number was down. You'd expect with a new car coming off I thought a wildly entertaining race, Daytona 500, especially considering that last year's Daytona 500 had no viewership. The fact that this year's second race is still down from last year's second race, albeit only a fraction of a percent, just a tiny bit. That's disappointing. I mean, it just is. I don't know where the disconnect is. I thought Matt Kenseth in the booth was doing his best job to drag that broadcast along, but
when he talked to Joey Logano, that was funny.
But I genuinely don't know. I've stopped overreacting to TV ratings because it's just so hard to rationalize a lot of these numbers. Why did this number get lower? Why not? Why?
And really for all sports, I mean, it's really a roller coaster and stuff. I mean, I mean, like you don't want to, be down, of course, but yeah, I mean, I'm with Eric on that one. Like, I mean, they're important, but I don't know. Like,
I was reading like NBA ratings, like local ratings for NBA games at the beginning of this year, and like I'm shocked. I know they're bad this year, or they might not even make the playoffs, but the Lakers, Los Angeles with LeBron James were like the 16th or 17th best local rating in the United States out of all the 30 NBA teams.
They suck, dude. They suck this year.
But it's LA horrible. And it's LeBron. Like freaking Memphis Grizzlies getting more viewership.
Oh, because dude, Ja Morant, bro.
I know, but it's still it doesn't make. I understand. Yeah, Ja Morant's good, but Memphis has like 7 people over there. The Bass Pro Shops pyramid. That's all they got in Memphis these days. So
wow. Well, hey, you're not wrong. It's as a Tennessean, it's a city we forget about sometimes.
It's like the 3rd biggest city, maybe the 2nd biggest city in Tennessee. But point is, ratings are a confusing piece. Fans are fickle. Viewers will click and watch a different thing every second. Like it's very hard to predict. I'm not sleeping on Ja Morant.
I saw that.
He's Louise.
All right. Well, I think we talked.
He's one of the 7 people in Memphis.
I think we talked a good amount about those ratings. There's another type of ratings though that we pay attention to on this show. I believe it's coming right now.
Yes. Yes, that's right. The poll, the famous Iceberg poll.
All right. So no, we did not get a record. I'm just gonna preface that right now.
I didn't ask that. I stopped asking that years ago.
We got 14.7 thousand votes on this one, which for early in the year is pretty darn good. 60% of you thought this was a great race. I have it right here. I'm not just like looking away. 29% of you said it was good. 8% said average, and 2% apiece said below average and bad. Net positivity, 89%. Net negativity, 4%. Now looking at some of the comments here. William Anderson has the top comment. He says, what a run for these guys that haven't typically run up front. Guys like Suarez, Jones, and Reddick were killing it today. Agreed. Let's see. Again, if you have a good name, I'll read it. Confetti Go Boom 91 says, the best Auto Club race I've definitely seen in a while. I like 2013 personally, but I can see why people like this one more. Let's see. Good Lord, you people write books in here. All right. Eric Sipe says nobody. Mark Martin enters the booth. Slap shoes. Fanboy squeals. Also, How about that Jones boy? Man, I thought that he was going to win this race. Really starting to like this new car.
Quick side note, I just want to say I'm sorry, Slap Shoes, that Mark Martin quote tweeted me about that and not you. I'm sorry.
That was awesome to see, though.
Yeah, that's cool.
Denny Delivers never fails to deliver on funny comments. Says, Tyler getting in the car. Rev up those fryers. Tire blows out my leg.
Oh, yeah, his leg was
Yeah, his
going
leg
numb, too.
was-
That was another problem.
Yeah. Let's see. Parker says, what a race. Awesome to see the parity throughout the field. Cars look hard to drive, but the racing was fantastic. Great finish as well. For Auto Club standards, this was the best race in a long time here. 9.5 out of 10. Now, I'm going to really quickly get it so we can find what the first one was, because we had over 500 comments on this one. So thank you. Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
Yeah. So scroll.
Wowzers.
I'll get there eventually. I'm like sitting here like resting my hand on the diecast I have. Come on, any day now. For you guys listening on online, or on Spotify and Google, thank you. The first comment.
I was just passing the time.
You got a lightsaber over there.
No, it
with
was like a
the
shot. I
Moby.
was trying to do like a shot clock buzzer in the NBA, like time's up.
It fit.
That scared me.
Close.
All right, the first comment was from Tank Slapper. So is that going to be positive or negative?
Negative.
I think I saw him in the chat
Thanks, not
earlier.
be positive.
I'm gonna say I
Negative.
saw him in the chat earlier. I'm gonna say positive. I think yeah.
All right.
Negative.
He says, what an amazing race from Eric Jones and Tyler Reddick. It's tragic that Reddick blew a tire like that. This new car is already bringing teams that were less competitive last year up to the front of the field. Also, how many times have Reddick and Byron made contact now?
It's positive. I'll say
That's a positive comment. He's
Yeah.
got a point. At least this one
Surprised
wasn't.
me, Tank Slapper.
Well done, Tank Slapper. Slapper.
slapper.
So thank you guys all
E.
for voting in the poll. I'll put that up at the end of every race this season. So make sure as soon as the race gets done to come and vote, or just vote whenever before the show starts. Now, we'll go through this really briefly here. The Xfinity race. There are a couple stories that I really just want to kind of touch on here while we have a little time. Number one, the return of Trevor Bayne. Danny, how would you grade Trevor Bayne's return to high-level NASCAR racing?
Considering that his story has been, he's mainly been doing a lot of dirt track racing over this time period when he's been out of NASCAR. And then he's also, he had that brief stint of Nice in 2020 in the Truck Series. I would give it an A. He led laps. He was in contention for it. He was personally disappointed in himself, which is awesome to see because he's expecting greatness driving the 18, which is what you should do if you're in JGR's flagship car number, in my opinion. So I'd give it an A. I think there's definitely room to improve, and I think he can possibly win one or two races this year.
Considering that 18 car, and I don't actually know if it's the same crew chief necessarily, but it's the same car at least that won the championship last year, but only won one race. I thought Trevor Bayne looked like Daniel Hemrick out there. He ran about how Hemrick did most of last year, was qualified in the top 5, stayed up in the top 5 most of the race, kept his nose fairly clean. There were a good amount of incidents going on around him, and came home third. I mean, you could have fooled me. You told me that was Daniel Hemrick out there, and I would have believed it. So I think if you've been out of the sport, out of the Xfinity series for 5 or 6 years, out of the sport for a year and a half, and you come out and run third, yes, in great equipment, I think that's at least a B+, A- kind of first day.
I'm giving it an A++ there, just he qualifies up front. He's, competing for the win right away. I figured, since he hadn't been in the Xfinity series for quite some time, it's like, okay, at the very least, I, could expect a top 10 from him, a top 10 run. I thought Ty Gibbs would be the best Joe Gibbs racing driver that day, but Ty Gibbs actually struggled. So we'll get to that in a little bit. But I mean, for this being his first race back in the Xfinity series for quite some time, Trevor Bayne did a phenomenal job, ended up scoring a top 5. And what was also funny too, in one of the post-race interviews I saw on Twitter, he kind of threw some shade at Jack Roush towards the end. I can't remember exactly.
I heard that.
He kind of threw it, and I mean, we've seen multiple drivers in the past, that have left Jack Roush's team, and then they don't have the best things to say about him. But Trevor Bayne, and on the show, as a matter of fact, so Trevor Bayne. Exactly. So Trevor Bayne, you can say, Cup Series bust, blah blah blah, but Xfinity Series, no. I mean, he's always ran pretty good, but I mean, he's doing select races this year for Joe Gibbs Racing, so it won't surprise me if he ends up in victory lane this year.
Now, you mentioned that Ty Gibbs has been struggling. Eric, what's going on with your boy? Why isn't he going out and dominating every single lap like last year?
I didn't pick him this week. You did.
I picked him.
I didn't pick him.
Me and Danny picked him.
And
the chat too.
But to be fair, we thought he was actually making a comeback, but his team messed him up on a decision.
Wasn't he a set short on tires by the end?
Yeah, and then also too, he during the final laps, him and Anthony Alfredo, they had pitted for tires, and I thought, okay, damn, they're gonna work their way up front. Anthony Alfredo, he chose the bottom and was up front right away. Ty Gibbs decides to stay on the top, and everyone else was on the top. There was just nowhere to go, and then you had caution after caution, so there was just no way to mount a comeback like Anthony Alfredo was. So.
Side note, got to say, so Darian and I were and Claudia, we were at Atlanta, Georgia, filming some stuff coming up on my channel over the next few weeks. And we decided to go have dinner at the end of stage 2. So we went to an Applebee's, and we finished our meal. Yeah, unironically, we went to an Applebee's. We finished our meal, and there's like 16 laps to go. So we're just thinking, okay, let's just watch the last little bit of this race, and then we'll get out of here. That turned into us being at Applebee's for another hour at least, and we ended up ordering dessert because we felt bad for sitting there for so long.
Hey, we got the brownie and the ice cream thing. I got the smaller one. You and Claudia shared the big one, but that only cost me like $1. It was good.
We fancy like.
Yeah. Don't put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby.
Don't do it.
Have we seen those commercials yet this year during races?
No,
on Twitter though.
They're doing a new commercial involving chicken fried, and they picked a bad time for that.
Oh yeah.
Anyway,
they played it on CNN.
Anyway, Darian, I want to get you on that last point about the race here. It ended up being Cole Custer versus Noah Gragson. I want to just hear from you, kind of, if you even compare to this time last year, how far Noah Gragson has come, but also seeing Cole Custer go up and actually be really competitive and be the guy to beat. Like, I kind of want to hear what you have to think of those two, because I know we have opinions on both.
Yeah, I mean, like, Noah Gragson, I mean, last year, I mean, like, he had a lot of expectations heading into 2021, didn't get off to the greatest start in the world. But I mean, this year he seems to be, I mean, we're only 2 races in, granted. So, but it is very encouraging to see him run up front. And he's also going to be running in some select races for Colleague in the Cup Series at these same tracks too, like a California and, an Auto Club, that sort of thing. Or no, excuse me, like, these 1.5-mile tracks. And it's good to see him run, on tracks that aren't super speedways and short tracks, that sort of thing. So that's promising to see. But Cole Custer, like, the verdict is still out on him, whether he'll be, decent in the Cup Series. Yeah, he has the win and stuff like that. But I mean, it's just overall, it just hasn't been running, the best in the world for Storehouse. I mean, he did improve this weekend though, so I'll give him that. But yeah, it was great to see him run up front in the Cup Series. No, not the Cup Series. Excuse me, the Xfinity Series again.
He did okay Cup too.
He got that team their first win, I guess, right? All the
that was Joe Graff's team. Yeah, that was Joe Graff's team.
There is a lot of debate there.
We won this race?
There was a lot of debate on that, and
I think HR car.
I think we know who prepared that car, but just the aesthetics of Joe Graff's car winning the race was just interesting to look at.
And also, fun fact: Joe Graff Jr. finished ahead of Ty Gibbs, I believe, in the 38.
Did he?
Yep.
Yeah, by 1 spot.
Dang. Anthony Alfredo, I know he had those fresh tires at the end, but him finishing top 5 in our motorsports equipment, that's a good start to
I was happy for people at our. That's good to see them having.
Yeah, but Noah Gragson, I mean, look out for him. I think he's going to win quite a few races this year.
Now, once we get to the end of the hour here, last 5 minutes or so before we hit that hour, I want to have a bit of a debate time with you guys. I don't know if it's going to be lopsided or not. But do we change Auto Club to a 2-mile short track, or a half-mile short track, that 2 miles, or do we keep it the 2-mile length it already is?
3 Mile Super Speedway.
All right,
No,
let
that's
me-
Texas.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
Texas.
All right, I'll go first on this one.
I'll go
when
last.
it was first when it was first announced that Auto Club they were thinking about changing it to a short track, I was all for it at first. I was like, okay, fine. Like it sucks that we're gonna lose, a cool, 2 mile track like Auto Club. But hey, we're talking about hey, we want more short tracks and stuff like that. So I thought this was a step in the right direction. And also, to be honest, too, like I had kind of fallen out of love with that track, not because of the track itself, but because of the aero package NASCAR was running at the time. So because it's like with that old package towards the end of the Gen 6 era, it was just boring to watch because you knew they were just basically trying to full throttle it and stuff. They weren't really driving, But now all of a sudden, we get, it's the first race at this track with the Gen 7 or / next gen, whatever you want to call it, doesn't matter to me. And then all of a sudden you see, the cream rise to the crop, whether it's, because they have good equipment, but it's also great to see, driver talent being showcased as well. So I'm sitting here watching this and thinking, I'm like, man, like we can't change this. It's been a while and stuff. Like, I know we want to have more short tracks, but surely there's another short track. Maybe you can add to the schedule. You can give an extra race or whatever. It's like, it would just be a shame if we lost this track, because there's no other track really like it now. Like the only other comparable track as far as the surface was concerned was Atlanta, but then me and Danny were just there. They basically changed that. It is nothing like Auto Club surface anymore. And like outside of Michigan, I think it's cool that NASCAR has, 2.5 mile tracks, So I don't know. I think it would be a shame if we lost this track and turned it into a short track, but I don't know. Just my personal preference is leave it alone and turn Texas into the short track or super speedway.
Danny, you go next, man.
Because in my mind, I've been thinking about all this. I can't do Texas because that's SMI. NASCAR doesn't have the freedom to do whatever they want with SMI tracks. So everyone all the way on Twitter has been saying, change Texas, change this SMI track. No, leave that alone. They're private. They can do whatever they want without NASCAR saying they have to do this. So what I'm looking at is I'm on the side now, okay, don't change Auto Club. But another NASCAR ran short track is a good idea. And I say, and this probably, we're going to get to this later on, Chicagoland Speedway is sitting there doing nothing. Sad. But Chicagoland would be a perfect place to do the same plan and do it to Chicagoland. And people was like, oh, it's too far out of the city. And here's the thing. Okay, Chicago street course, I don't think that's a long-term solution, nor do I think the LA Coliseum is a long-term plan either. Auto Club Speedway, compared to the Hollywood Walk of Fame, is an hour and 16 minutes away, and that's like with good LA traffic. It's going to be more than that realistically with the way LA traffic is. Chicagoland Speedway to Chicago's Union Station is only 53 minutes away, actually. So if we were considering doing this to Auto Club anyways, let's keep Auto Club how it is. Let's take a track that's not got anything going on, Chicagoland Speedway. Let's do this project at Chicagoland instead. Let's make it into the half-mile short track that we wanted Auto Club to be originally. Let's revive Chicagoland as a short track, and that's the hill I'm going to die on in this case.
So I know what Jarrett's going to say. I'm on the fence, and I think ask me again after Las Vegas. Let's see how the next gen car races at, again, a more typical intermediate track, of which there are several others very similar to it on the schedule. If it races well at Las Vegas, that might change my opinion a bit. But right now, I agree. What we just saw at Auto Club was a great race. Might be the best Fontana race that track has ever seen. But, and you mentioned this earlier, Darian, that the only track kind of like it on the schedule was Atlanta until this past year. What did they just do to Atlanta? They just repaved it and reconfigured it, which means at some point, probably in the not so distant future, and I think this is the point you're going to make, Jarrett, they're going to have to repave Auto Club. And will it still race as well? Will it still race as well if it's a 2 mile freshly repaved track? The answer is probably not. Now, the next gen car might overcome that, but we don't know for sure. So right now, I lean towards keeping Auto Club I'm leaning towards, I'm getting this backwards. I'm leaning towards keeping Auto Club as is because I really like the race we just saw. And even if it has to be repaved in 5 years, I'll take that. But if the racing at Las Vegas this week is really, really good, turn Auto Club into a short track because we got other 1.5 miles that the next gen will shine on.
I love being the one who has to be the devil's advocate on this. All right. I think we should make it a short track. I'm still on this hardline, changing it up because of what we talked about, the repave. But you have to think of the way that that Auto Club was before we all loved it. Really, I mean, it really started becoming actually beloved around 2011, 2013. It took over 15 years, or just around 15 years, for this track to have racing that most people actually liked. Now, you can say there were good races here or there. I get that. But I'm sorry, there's nothing that you can tell me that this track is going to be exactly how it is now after a repave. Look at Michigan. Michigan is the one you can compare it to. Michigan was repaved 11 years ago, and that place still sucks. I love Michigan. It's the track that I went to my first race at. It has a special place in my heart. It's just that place is boring as hell now. You look at a lot of other repaves that have been done, and for the most part, in the last 10 to 15 years, repaves, aside from maybe Kansas and Las Vegas, which had to be reconfigured, and Kansas that had to be reconfigured, they usually aren't that good. So I love the racing. If we can keep the surface going a few more years, I am completely fine postponing the short track and designing it better. I mean, I believe it was Dale Jr. that said that the tests they did for it didn't work. Now, I don't know how much I trust iRacing, but at the same time, there's people smarter than me that trust it, so I'm going to go with what they say. So I think you can postpone it a little while and get a better plan together, but I don't see after 2 or 3 years the racing being anything like what we saw this past Sunday. I think that this track will be like Michigan 2.0.
I think you're right. The track surface will hold up for a few more years. So I think we shouldn't rush necessarily to switch it into a short track, but I'm with you that when the time to repave it comes, a short track might be the best option. But that's why I'm just hoping the racing is great at Las Vegas. So that tells me that we don't need, we have enough intermediates that it races well at. We don't need to keep Auto Club, because I love having a short track on the West Coast to kind of counter the 2 or 3 we have on the East Coast.
Well, and I think that NASCAR has proven they want to reach the West Coast audience more. And if you're going to do that, aside from the Clash, you're not going to move the Daytona 500 there. You're not going to move Talladega all of a sudden out to California. You're not going to move the Coke 600. You're not going to move any of your marquee events out there except the championship. You want the championship to be exciting. You want the championship to be something that's special, that people will tune into even if they don't watch NASCAR. What we just saw with the LA Clash, that there's now a lot more NASCAR fans out there who will, tune into something NASCAR if it's out in the LA, or at least out in California, and 2, will actually show up. So I think that if you want this track to survive long term, 1, they need to sell a lot of that land. That land is very valuable, and land prices are getting higher and higher. NASCAR can make a good amount of money out there that they can use towards making better facilities, helping other facilities. But 2, if you have a short track out there, you have a perfect way to basically have a beating and banging, talent-based way to decide your champion if you make that the finale. And I think that's what NASCAR wants. They want a California finale. And you're not going to get that at the Coliseum. You're going to get that at Fontana. And I don't see excitement really being drawn up year after year with a repaved 2-mile track compared to a short track, which will consistently get you better racing. Personally, that's how I see it.
I'm with you. NASCAR is going to keep the championship at the very least at a NASCAR-owned track for a while, so that feeds into it. I think it's a good point. Ask me again in a week. I'll have a better answer in a week.
I think the hard part is that if land developers really want that land, it's been proven time and time again in California with California tracks and NASCAR, the land developers win every time.
It is a lot of land. Well, but it's sitting in kind of a weird spot. I mean, I don't know. I've only been to Fontana once. It's an hour outside of the city, but it's LA, so it's Southern California. There's kind of a lot of little weird pockets of cities as you go. It's kind of a lot of industrial stuff, I feel like, right around there. So yeah, I'm sure someone would pay a lot of money for it, but I don't know how. It's not like it's right there in the heart of Hollywood. It's out in the boonies just a little. Mm-hmm. But
there's only so much could be done there too. It's not like Disney could go in and build another amusement park there or something like that either.
Housing developments. That's what they do every time with NASCAR tracks out there, housing development.
Texas World Speedway is a neighborhood now.
RIP to Myrtle Beach Speedway.
There is a line of the Burlington Northern Santa Fe Railroad that goes through there too. So I mean, it's not like it is definitely more industrial based already because of that.
Yeah, but I just loved seeing the chat light up as soon as I said that. I was completely on the other end for the most part. That's the fun part.
You have to
Instigator.
admit I was tempting you with the Chicagoland idea.
A little bit, but at the same time, it's like, man, that I don't think that track's ever coming back. To be completely honest with you.
Yeah, like aren't they
Knowing
doing
this-
something with it now? Isn't
knowing-
it like a car lot or something now?
Yeah, it's a car lot, truck lot for FedEx. Like it's you know,
Put a Top Golf or two there.
yeah, it's trust me, I wanna bring it back, but I don't see it happening. Not in this crap hole state. But yeah, I think we had a good debate there. I think we had a good talk on it. Now I want to talk about what everyone in the chat is talking about. Can somebody get me a timer, please? We figured out the super chat thing, so I'll be able to read them.
Cool.
Sweet.
Just tell me when you got it, and I'll start reading.
I'm ready when you are.
All right, just tell me to go.
3, 2, 1, go.
All right. Thank you to Vote Kyle 3000 for the 1999 super chat. Says, given the excellent Fontana weekend, is it too early to ask for the similarly flat but very different Indy Oval back? Also, do you think Todd Gordon would make a good presenter for Fox? Indy Oval, I think the locals at Indianapolis will really like that personally. And maybe it'll be better. So I guess maybe if they do the switch it out each year, we could maybe do that. As for Todd Gordon, yeah, I mean, he seems to be pretty well spoken with how he presents. Groovy Goose, thank you for the $1.99 super chat. Says, calling my shot, Bubba wins 2023 Daytona 500. Man, that'll be a sight to see the
I say let's
fans.
focus on Talladega before we focus on that far.
Yeah. Let's see. I'm scrolling up here. Cavante Caldwell, thank you for the $5 super chat. Says, are Kyle Busch and Kevin Harvick top 10 drivers of all time? And if so, who ranks higher? I think Jimmy Johnson's the GOAT. I mean, I think Kevin Harvick's borderline. Kyle Busch, I can
Kyle Busch
definitely
is.
see.
Yeah, Kyle Busch is top 10.
I
Kevin
think
Harvick's flirting with it though.
Yeah.
Spencer5478, thank you for being a 9-month member. Says, fun time at Fontana last weekend, now on to Vegas. Groovy Goose, thank you for the $1.99 again. Says, Chase Elliott should have pulled a Herbie. Same track.
Herbie's on the fence.
Scott McNew.
I watched that movie last night.
Really?
Herbie's on the
like
fence.
first time in like a decade. I was so hyped for that line. Herbie's on the fence.
But the car just winked at me. Are you okay? The car just winked at me.
Fine.
Scott McNew, thank you for the $10. Says, great to see you guys. Hope all is well. Glad to finally catch the podcast. If there's something we've learned from the Gluck poll, it's that 8.5% of the population needs to get their heads examined, or 4%. Group of Goose, thank you for the $4.99. Says, if you could build/script the perfect race, how would that race go in your opinion? Can it apply to every track too? I think it has to be different every track, but for me, I love races that slowly
Matt
build
Kenseth
up.
leads every lap.
Or Dale Jr. does. But objectively, I like races that build up throughout and then have this great explosion. 2018 Chicagoland, 2005 Daytona 500. Just
My perfect race is every track has a 4-wide finish. Every track.
Ethan,
No. The perfect Talladega race where everyone's wrecked. What does the president say?
Oh,
yeah.
That's what we want to see instead of real race.
Ethan Kane, thank you for the $4.99. Says, did you hear what Dale Jr. had to say about the Auto Club reconfiguration? If they can't spend the money to do it right, I say just repave. I say give him some time to do a little extra. Isaac, thank you for the $2. Says, NASCAR Twitter busts, Darian Gilliam. I agree.
Yeah.
Scott McNew, thank you for the $5. Says, in my opinion, the driver of the race was Daniel Hemrick. 7 laps down to top 10. I did not know that.
Yes,
Thanks, Scott.
7.
And time.
And we'll get to the rest of those at the end of the show. But what we should get to right now is thanking another one of our sponsors, which is Lionel. Everyone get out your diecasts. Because the coming lightning round is brought to you by Lionel, the official diecast of NASCAR. You can get your new 2022 diecasts, which is not one of these, but you can get your official 2022 diecasts of your favorite drivers at Lionel.com, any Lionel retailer, Walmart, and don't miss their NASCAR Authentics diecast at Walmarts near you. So guys, what do we have to? I see some similarities, and then there's me and Danny. What do we got?
Well, we've got the lightning round coming up. I know we'll talk about it then, but my boy Matt Kenseth back on the racetrack later this summer with the SRX and possibly some super late model races as well. So I have a billion Matt Kenseth cars here in my collection. I have to have an excuse to show them off. This is his 2008 car. Pretty much ran the exact same paint scheme in 2009 when he won the Daytona 500, except he had like a red roof number, which I don't know why they did that. But yeah, looks great. I see what you got, Darian. I'm a little jealous.
Yeah, no, Jarrett was with me when I found this one. We were at the Daytona Flea Market by the track, and I saw this Matt Kenseth 1998 DeWalt Busch Series scheme when he drove a Chevy at the time, not a Ford, from 1998 for only $10. I was like, oh, I gotta take this, and I gotta stun on Eric, bro, because I mean, like, even Eric asked me, like, hey, are you gonna like sell that or something like that? I'm like, no, sorry, can't do it.
I did ask that. I was like, hey, if you're not gonna buy that for yourself,
I'm like, no, I'm gonna buy it. It's only $10, but
I knew I should have gone to that flea market before then.
Dang.
Yeah. Fun fact on that one that Eric has, that design could potentially take the track later this season.
Yeah,
we'll talk about that another time. But I'm rocking the Alex Bowman 2020 design. Now, this is the liquid color version. The finish come out a whole lot better on the liquid color car, in my opinion, more closer to what the actual car was. And just look at how good the colors pop on here, like that teal. It all really pops good on that design.
Nice.
Boys.
That looks good.
I have Ralph Earnhardt's old car. I know I've shown this one before, but people love every time I show it. Simply before the top right here, go or blow. I love the simplicity of this car. It's just flat white. You know, there's a few things. There's like, I think Edelman's Garage was his sponsor right here. It'll show up. There we go. I just like the simplicity of it. I like simple paint schemes. So, yeah. So, yeah, thank you to Lionel for sponsoring both the Super Chat segment and the coming lightning round.
Jared, I just realized you had Moby up instead of Lionel.
Oh, well.
Got to give him some extra time. Give some extra time, right?
Yeah.
But anyways, moving on. And it's the lightning round on the NASCAR Weekly Podcast. Jarrett, what do we have on tap for tonight?
Well, there's a few things here. There's a lot of announcements about the SRX. Ryan Newman, Greg Biffle, Michael Waltrip, and Bobby Labonte will be full-time in the SRX series this year. Matt Kenseth, as we have alluded to, will be racing 3 races in the SRX: Nashville, I-55, and Sharon. And then I didn't see, but Haley Deegan, I believe, is doing
She's doing 2.
I don't know which ones, though. I did not see that.
I-55 and Stafford. But with Matt Kenseth, he's doing 3. He's doing both dirt races. I don't think Matt Kenseth has any dirt experience outside of maybe the Prelude to the Dream like 15 years ago.
That's cool.
interesting schedule choice for my man Matt, but I'll at least be there hopefully at Nashville to cheer him on, where I think he has an actual chance. And then apparently Kyle and Morgan Petty are having a third kid this summer, so good on them. Teams are estimated to be getting a bigger cut of TV money in the new TV deal to try and kind of alleviate the burden of how many sponsorship dollars they need, according to Adam Stern.
I saw Stern was reporting that it was like Michael Jordan
and Denny Hamlin
trying to lead that charge, which I like that you get new owners coming here trying to sort of help the NASCAR model evolve, but you also got to wonder how realistic some of their expectations are coming from the NBA, where things are completely different than the way things work in NASCAR. I just don't know. Are they going to? I know they're hoping, they're expecting, but still a couple of years away. Will that work out for them? We don't know yet.
As long as they don't sell it to China. Todd Bodine is returning to the Truck Series this weekend. I believe it's the first time since 2013. So keep an eye out for the Onion.
Me too.
And then I love this. Richard Childress has donated over 1 million rounds of ammunition to support the Ukrainian fight against Russia. That is the most Richard Childress thing I think we could have done.
I mean, if you got an ammo sponsor, you might as well.
Yeah.
Might as well. That's crazy.
NASCAR did say that they have solved the overheating issues that were seen at Auto Club, according to Bob Pockrass. And then, Danny, you like Bass Pro Shops, right? You like it?
Oh, yeah. I worked at one for a year. I love it.
Well, that wasn't a Bass Pro Shops you worked at. That was Tony Stewart's house, which is on sale for $30 million. But you got any? We can pull that together. We got enough super chats tonight. We got enough. Come on, we can pull that together.
We can make a down payment.
What's crazy is I read in it, he's asking for cash only. You can't just finance this.
Oh,
Oh
the
my
Randy
God.
Moss. Randy Moss can buy it.
Randy
Straight cash,
Moss,
homie.
straight cash on. Oh my gosh.
How many people are going to spend 30 million on a house in where is it in Indiana?
The boonies.
Middle of no, yeah, middle of no.
Well,
I mean, if you really want to become one with nature, I suppose.
if you can afford that, it don't matter where it is. You're going.
I mean, he basically has like a lake built in there, so.
Like a 9-acre lake, and it's like 400 acres of hunting ground.
But then, like inside, he has like a mini pond that's stocked with
He
fish.
can fish outside or inside, whichever one he wants.
It's like the perfect zombie apocalypse survival house. But yeah, that's the lightning round. So, Darian, roll us out.
And that'll do it for this edition of the Lightning Round on the NASCAR Weekly Podcast. And now, back to the show.
As always, this show is also sponsored by our friends at Forney Industries. Forney offers a full line of welding and plasma cutting machines, metalworking accessories, and more. Great for do-it-yourselfers, or if you're a professional metalworker, Forney has everything you need for your next project. So be sure to check them out at forneyend.com. I mean, the chat was ahead of me with the Forney stuff. I love it. Check them out at forneyend.com. That's Forney. I always spell it out, I-N-D. It's also down in the description below. Or look for their green logo at an authorized Forney dealer near you. So switched it up a little bit from outdoorsy to industrial talk, but thanks to Forney for sponsoring this episode, every episode of the NASCAR Weekly Podcast. What's next, Jarrett?
Well, we talked about it earlier. We're going to Chicago, maybe. Let's be real. The Chicago Street Course may be used in 2023. Adam Stern reported this. It's up in the air. Two things I want to point out here. There are said to be ongoing but complicated planning processes with the city and the state of Illinois, and they could very well collapse. So, with that being said, I'll keep my Illinois thoughts to myself at the moment. I want to ask you guys, do you see this happening? Eric, start us off.
I look at this report and I don't feel like it's really saying anything. I mean, I guess other than saying, oh yeah, they are still talking to them, which, after all the work they put into broadcasting the iRacing event less than a year ago and everything, like you figure they were going to keep talking to them. They were going to continue this process of trying to make something happen. I don't know. I'm skeptical that it happens in 2023. And I get the impression every year at this point that it doesn't happen. It becomes less likely that it will, but I still think it's a good idea. We've had this conversation on the podcast before. I don't remember exactly where all of us landed on it, but I love the idea of one street race, especially in a big city. Would Chicago be my first choice? Maybe not, but it's a good sports town. It is a big city, and it is kind of in an area. It's in the Midwest where there's a lot of racing fans. And right now, with no Chicagoland on the schedule, there's not a whole lot of great racetracks or NASCAR races being run in that immediate region of the country. So it would serve a lot of people, and it would be a great way of NASCAR to bring the product to the people, something that Justin Marks has talked a lot about. I do think going forward, if we want to continue to fill seats consistently, I think the days of tracks being built an hour outside of cities are probably going to become less and less frequent. We're going to start going to tracks that are closer to downtowns, a la Nashville Fairgrounds or the LA Memorial Coliseum. We're going to start trying to make singular massive events and I'm going to try to take over a city. I can't remember who said it, but a few people said it after the Clash that Los Angeles felt NASCAR's presence, like the city, their signage ever. People knew there's something going down at the Coliseum this week. Whereas a typical race at Fontana, I don't think creates that kind of buzz. A street race in the city of Chicago would not go unnoticed. So it'd be expensive, may not be the best and most entertaining race, but with these cars showing to be as versatile as they are, it's worth doing at least once. I hope it happens. I'm 50-50 on if it will.
Something to note there about what you just said there, Eric. The Clash definitely helped Fontana, though. The infield looked like it was more packed, and the stands looked like it was a lot more full than recent years in Fontana. Going back to this race, though, I think it's more likely that it doesn't happen. But if it does happen, I do want to point out there would be this huge storyline that probably wouldn't get picked up too much until right before it happens. But the idea of Michael Jordan returning to Chicago as a NASCAR team owner, that's got to be something pretty cool to see too.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the only way this would be successful is like, I mean, obviously, like in the same way the Clash was successful, like the city has to feel a presence, like, yay, something's happening, like NASCAR's in town. If you're going to have a street race, that's a step in the right direction, but you need to, promote the hell out of this thing and stuff like, hey, we're going to be on a street course. Michael Jordan's returning to, his city and stuff that he made famous with the Bulls. He's a team owner now, that sort of thing. Or whatever. So because I feel like if they are able to market this well in the Chicago sports media side of things, I really think it could be a major hit with the city. But also too, I noticed this, and we'll talk more about this later on. This idea being brought up on social media brought a lot of fans out of the woodwork saying, what about Chicagoland? Let's just go back to Chicagoland here and there. So, I think it's a great idea, but don't forget, we have a pretty good 1.5 mile track in the city or by the city.
So I'm kind of torn with this. Like on one hand, we've seen with the LA race that this can be pulled off, and you can have a strong response from a generally non-NASCAR audience. But at the same time, and maybe this is probably heresy for most Illinois natives, I personally don't like Chicago as a city. Like, I think it's very dirty, and the media itself there is not very open when it comes to outsiders in that much of a sense, unless they're like really, really good. And I don't know how the LA media is in general, or the LA fans are, but I just know that Chicago sports fans and Chicago media holds their teams to a sometimes unrealistically high standard, and
Certainly more intense.
Totally, dude.
Like LA, I would consider to be lackadaisical compared to Chicago.
Oh my, dude, Chicago sports. It's like every year,
if the
every
Bears
team's
are even doing slightly good, they're like worse than Cowboys at times.
Well, it's like every team's gonna win the championship, Super Bowl, whatever, until the first game. I personally think that if NASCAR could pull it off in Chicago, they could pull it off anywhere. I think that you have to completely bank on Michael Jordan. Like, Michael Jordan has to be in every single commercial, has to go on every single show, because he is.
They gotta get Bubba in a Bulls car.
Hey,
I wouldn't want to see him do that.
No.
Oh, sorry, I'll let you finish your point. I wouldn't want to see that.
No, I wouldn't think that anything with Bulls really as much. It's just Michael Jordan is a god in Chicago, the same way that someone like Mike Ditka is. And it's a different level compared to any other city. I don't care what any of you say about your cities, the way that Chicago views those two men is in like a godlike status. So if you have Michael Jordan behind it with a Chicago-based entertainment venue like a Chicago street course for NASCAR, in my opinion, that's the only way you can legitimize this race for Chicago natives to come out, which, let's be real, like the LA Coliseum race, that's who you're going after, Chicago natives. People who, in general, are not watching NASCAR races in large amounts. Personally, my take right now. Go back to Chicagoland. It's a better track. It's going to be hard to do it, but I'll chain myself to the track in front of the bulldozers if I have to bring it back. Like, bring that one back. It'll be better.
We could race on Soldier Field again.
I mean, the Bears aren't going to be using it soon,
Dude,
so
I honestly think that I'd almost
it'd be a better
go with
idea.
that before I go
more,
to street race race. Now, I disagree. I think you could get Chicago sports fans to come out even without just pumping Michael Jordan into everything, because I don't know how close Michael Jordan has kept tabs on that city. I feel like Michael Jordan's kind of disconnected from Chicago.
Michael
since
Jordan's
his play
take
days.
they don't care. Like, he is a literal god, like, in the 100-mile radius in Illinois and Chicago.
My thing is, like, they got LA fans to go to the Clash, and they didn't put Magic Johnson on the big screen or anything like that, so I feel like they could pull off a street race in Chicago and get a big turnout without. The thing is, my only issue with the Clash is I think they went too different. I think non-NASCAR fans who watched that race or went to that race and maybe enjoyed it are now going to go watch or go to another race, literally even at Fontana, and they're going to get a completely different experience. And they're going to be like, "Whoa, was I lied to at the Clash? This is not what I thought NASCAR was. The Clash told me something different." So I wouldn't want, NASCAR, if they were to ever go to Chicago for a street race or any sort of race in Chicago, I wouldn't want them to just fill everyone's heads with it's Michael Jordan, because Michael Jordan, in the grand scheme of things, is such a small, minuscule part of what NASCAR
That's
is.
how you sell it, though.
But I'm saying, they didn't need to do that in LA. So my thing is, that they didn't need to.
LA is
LA.
It's not
They use
Chicago.
celebrities.
Yeah,
I'm saying, but I think
that's the difference.
I don't know. I think Chicago fans show up to things without Michael Jordan. Have been showing up
No,
to
they
things
don't.
without Michael Jordan for years.
Dude, they do not show up unless their team is winning. Like Cubs fans,
Well,
Sox fans never show up.
Hey, the
Like,
Bulls are winning this year, so
They,
I've seen their
and they
stadiums
haven't
set
been
up.
showing up before that.
Yeah.
The Soldier Field is empty if the Bears aren't doing well. Like Chicago fans demand
That's
excellence.
that's to be fair, that's Chicago in the winter. I think if you schedule this well, I think you'll get fans to show up. I mean, you got 50,000 people in LA to go through LA traffic and go see a short track NASCAR race. I think if you race this literally in the streets, people would show up who didn't even know there was a race going on. They just thought, oh, I guess I'm at this race now. That's kind of the beauty of street races.
But
to an extent.
now that you bring up I can't remember who brought up the whole Soldier Field football idea. I would rather see that than a street
It'd be a better
course race,
idea.
now that
I
think
would
about
too.
it.
It'd be a better
Yeah.
idea.
I just think the view would not be that good for this race.
Yeah, I mean it's a street course. I mean, like it's going to be so
Oh.
spread out and stuff. You're not going to see every
Yeah.
corner and stuff, and also just the racing product
The
too.
infrastructure's
Usually,
awful.
yeah, and usually street course racing. I mean, like IndyCar they have a good enough packaging, good enough drivers to put on a show, but like for NASCAR, I don't know. I feel like it would be too spread out, and also this would take place in downtown Chicago, correct?
Yeah.
Hide your Glocks, yo.
Yeah,
Hide your Glocks.
I'm sorry. There's a reason we call it Chirac out here in Illinois.
Yeah,
there is a
that's what I'm
reason.
saying.
Like, I'm sorry. And again, maybe it's because I didn't grow up going to Chicago every week. I'm sorry. That city sucks. It's awful. It is so overrated. It is one of the most overrated places on earth. It's dirty. It's dangerous. Its infrastructure is awful. It's completely overrated. I'm sorry. I am too biased to talk objectively on this subject. It's one of the few left that I cannot talk objectively on. I think it's awful. I'm sorry. If it works out, it would work out great. But I think we have a perfectly good track 90 miles away that fans actually want, and we have a perfectly
90
good,
miles away.
Yeah.
You just killed it right there. Like,
But
90
Chicago
miles-
fans won't show up unless you literally shove something like that reminds them of when they were a winning city in their face. They don't show up for anything unless their teams win.
I don't know. I think you're not looking for like a 300,000 people. It's a street race. I think you get people to show up. I don't think, depending on where it lands
They
on the
can't
schedule.
get
If you try to
5,000
race-
people to show up to a Sox game.
Hey,
Oh,
look,
Chicago White Sox.
Look, the street race, if it happens, yay. If it doesn't, I'm not. I don't. It's not really going to affect me. But I do think though a race inside Soldier Field that would be
It'd be
more
way better.
intriguing.
It'd be
Yeah,
way
it would be
better.
way better by far.
It
Didn't
would be
you
more
use a
fun. I
spaceship?
think I think it would be a better experience. But I do think if they try a street, I'd like to see them try a street race just to see if it works.
I
But still
would
think they
love
should.
to see
Try
a
this,
street
would
race
you-
elsewhere.
If
Sure,
they-
it doesn't have to be Chicago. As I said at the very beginning, Chicago probably wouldn't even be my first choice. I'm selfish. I'd pick Houston. IndyCar's run here
Yeah.
before, but I also understand Chicago's a bigger market. So yeah, maybe they're a fickle market. Maybe they don't show up,
Perfect.
but I think they would.
Perfect analogy. William Murray right here. Chicago is the Mos Eisley of America. Perfect analogy. Perfect.
I don't understand that reference.
Hey, yo, what is that?
It's
mean?
a Star Wars. Tatooine.
Oh, okay.
Tatooine. Just
Okay,
remember the
if
city
they-
in Tatooine.
If you got Chicago fans you got 50, 60,000 people in Chicago to go to Chicagoland every year. I think you can get more than that for a street race in downtown. That's my thing.
Okay, what I'm trying to ask is, if they try this, would you want it as a points race or would you want it as an exhibition race?
Exhibition.
I wouldn't
No,
mind if it. I don't mind if
I'm
it's a
not.
point
I'm
race,
not having
honestly.
somebody in the end of the year somehow lose a championship over a Chicago pothole. I'm serious.
Just don't put this
It
in the
could happen.
playoffs, and I'm good. Just don't put this in the playoffs.
Just
and I'm
hide
good
it
with
in June.
Well, you
or
really
something,
only can.
you know.
I'm gonna be real. You only really can fit this in the summer because there's no way
Yeah,
that you're
yeah.
doing this when there's the most sports going on in Chicago in the fall.
Make it the All-Star race. Drop
Yes.
Texas. I know this
So
isn't going to
they're playing
happen,
Alex
but
Bowman is winning the All-Star race.
The All-Star race being on a road course, though, I don't know.
oh my God, would you really
This
rather?
race,
Would you rather
the
be?
All-Star race has sucked for 20 or not 10,
Oh,
20,
God.
15 years.
Just put it on a short track. I don't know, but
I agree with
I would
that,
like
but
it.
if we're thinking of alternatives other than having the
Have
race
them-
decided by a pothole,
Have them do a one-lap race around Lake Michigan. You know, that's the race.
have them race on one of the Chicago ferries for all I care.
Navy Pier. How big is that thing? They can fit 30, 40 cars on there, right?
Well, give it a
All
shot.
right.
We'll give it
I
a
think
shot.
I'm done talking about a hypothetical race
Let's-
at this point.
If we're doing a
Pit
street
stop
race,
at Giordano's.
if we're doing a street, okay, that is good.
I sold him.
The pizza's good. The pizza's good. Chicago pizza is the best in the world. Anyway, if you're gonna do a street race, let's do Denver. That's the one they keep talking about doing one at. Let's do Denver. It's a place where there's not many let's be real. There's not really many sports teams that are going that far out compared to any other region in the country. Let's do that. I don't know, anything but Chicago.
And we can even sponsor get Furniture Row to sponsor the Furniture Row 150 at.
Yeah.
They'll make their
Wasn't-
triumphant return.
Wasn't Barney Visser like at the Daytona 500
He
last
was.
week?
He
Well,
was.
yeah, he's actually been involved in a lot of manufacturing for parts of the next gen car. Actually,
Yeah, yeah, he's still around. I think that's super interesting.
That's
Anyway,
But yeah, I'd say we pretty much covered what everyone is thinking. The strong feedback, fan response to bring back Chicagoland. I'm in that biased corner. I mean, I will say this: Redneck Jesus is too. Dale Jr. said we should bring that one back instead of going to a street race. So just saying, I got him on my side. But I guess we don't have really too much more to add to it, do we?
Nope.
street race in
Hold
Hawaii.
on. One final question, Jared. Do you like Chicago?
Wait, Jared,
I played the fifth.
Show me where Chicago hurt you, okay? Let me know.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, I don't even know if I'd go to that race. I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. There's so many places I'd go in the country. Chicago ain't one of them, especially before 9 in the morning. So we do have things that we are all four of us excited about, and one of them is Las Vegas this weekend.
Yay.
City.
Darren, what's it like knowing that this is like, the first time for this part of the year in Las Vegas where you're not out there for the race? Really?
It's
How's
different.
it
Like
feel,
I
man?
was contemplating like, man, should I fly back? But then I'm like, nah, I got other races I plan on going to. I do hope I can go cover the Las Vegas playoff race though, like last year. So we'll see if that happens. But yeah, no. My parents got tickets though, so
Nice.
I don't know. My mom and my stepdad, they're really looking forward to seeing if the next gen's really gonna be really good on a mile and a half. So we'll see.
Well,
You're in Central Time now, right?
oh,
Yep.
That's right.
Get used to those late starts.
Yep.
Mhm, yeah. I see what all the fuss is about now. On the West Coast, I'd be like, who cares? But now I'm like living here. I'm like,
it
oh,
was
okay.
even
I see.
worse. Like when we were in Georgia, because that was on East Coast time. He's like, "Dang, this is
Yeah.
what they had to deal with."
Oh,
It's
you were in
crazy.
the Cannon time zone. All
Mhm.
right. Well, speaking of times and everything, let's get to the races. We got the truck race. That is going to be the Victoria's Voice Foundation 200. It'll be 134 laps. It's starting at 9 p.m. Eastern time on FS1 and MRN.
9 Eastern?
9
Okay,
Eastern
I'm-
time.
I'm sorry, I'm going fishing next day. I'll be sleeping. Sorry.
That's crazy.
And
That's crazy, bro.
the weather is it looked better. 62 degrees, cool weather with showers, 80% chance of rain. We got our first really big chance of
Threatening.
rain for a race so far this year.
And
I'm
also,
in the desert.
dude, it's Vegas. Like it varies during the spring. Yeah, it varies.
But the defending winner is John Hunter Nemechek. Just keep that in your minds.
Nemechek.
Nemechek.
The Xfinity race is the Allsco Uniforms 300. It is a 200-lap race starting at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time on FS1, but the radio will be PRN. MRN covers all the truck races, but
PRN.
as for Xfinity and Cup, PRN. The weather for that one, 56 degrees as a high, and it's going to be breezy in the morning, but should clear up in the afternoon.
Oh hell no!
20
It's cold. back
20.
there.
Shut up. It's 54 degrees in here.
That's cold for Vegas.
Anyway,
Go ahead.
it's 25% chance of rain. I'm pretty sure we'll be good to go, especially since it gets better later in the day. The defending winner of that one, AJ Allmendinger. And then you got the Cup race. Cup race is the Pennzoil 400. It's 267 laps starting at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time on Fox and PRN. And the weather on Sunday, 61 degrees Fahrenheit, partly sunny, a little bit cool, 6% chance of rain. Kyle Larson is your defending winner. A few notes here before we go right into it. Danica Patrick is going to be in the Cup booth this week, and I believe next week in Phoenix. I think she lives out
Yes.
on the West Coast now. So
I think
makes
she
sense.
lives in Phoenix, I think.
Yes,
if
that
I'm
makes
not
sense.
mistaken. Yeah.
Changes to practice also. A lot of the teams spoke up to NASCAR, and they've changed a little bit here to provide the teams with more time on the track to practice. Their practice sessions will not be, or the practice session will not be split into 2 groups, but instead as a 35-minute session for every car to go out on Saturday, followed by group qualifying. So a little bit of change if you're wanting to watch more normal practice on TV. Not what we're going to have for the rest of the year, but at least for this week. Darian, who are our favorites going into this weekend?
Yes, the betting odds. Darian's betting odds. Let's go. So this is from VegasInsider.com, and fittingly so. We're racing in Las Vegas this weekend. Kyle Larson enters this week as the odds-on favorite at plus 500, followed by Joey Logano and Chase Elliott, both tied for second at plus 750. In fourth, Ryan Blaney plus 1,000, and finally rounding out the top 5, Denny Hamlin is plus 1,200. Now here is the best of the rest. 3 of them. Kyle Busch and William Byron are both at plus 1,300 apiece. And finally, Tyler Reddick is plus 1,400. Now, for my favorite part of this segment, the underdogs. Eric Jones enters this weekend at plus 2,500. Daniel Suarez at plus 3,000. Chase Briscoe plus 5,000, as well as Ricky Stenhouse Jr., and finally, Ross Chastain at plus 8,000. So if you want to make some money, I mean, those are some pretty good odds too for how they some of those guys performed last weekend at Auto Club. So be on the lookout.
Now, Darian, as when it pertains to another way of predicting different races, how's our fantasy league looking?
Well, first off, congratulations to the fantasy league. For the first time ever, like all 100 people played. Like when I first started this too, like even for the season opening races at Daytona, like only like 90 something people would play and stuff. So like we've never had all 100 people playing, so I really appreciate it. And as for the point standings right now, it is tight. Now we're only 2 races in, but it's looking really exciting. We have a tie for first place between Wizard Hook 188 and Young's 550. In third place is Weaver 24. Fourth place is Trevor Sports 98, and rounding out the top 5 is Jets 48. Now, some notables too. My mom, BFM mom, is way ahead of me, tied for 7th. And then let's see if we can find some other notables too. I noticed this one. Mad Dog Matt, who's in my Discord, he's in 25th. Blue Jimmy 48 fan in 36th. Daniel Baldwin 39th. The famous 60,000 Ks in 48th, and I'm right underneath him in 49th. So I have some work to do to catch
up half of the field, barely.
Yeah.
Well, as for pick points, chat, congratulations. Y'all are still leading. You got 47 points in total so far this season. Darian.
Can I just say something here real quick before you get to it?
Mm-hmm.
I'm happy where I'm at finally.
You froze for a second.
Yeah.
Froze.
Darian is -5 in second. Eric, you are third, now -18. Danny is fourth, -20. And you know what? I got my championship. I'm out. I'm last, -21.
Get in my basement.
For the first time in over a year, Danny is ahead of me.
Somebody clip Danny saying, "Get in my basement."
Anyway. We got picks. I need to get going, get some spots here. Let's just go in order of the points in the chat. Start putting in your picks now for the truck race. Darian, start us off. Who is your pick to win the truck race?
Oh, it's obvious. Kyle Busch is in the race, so Kyle Busch, KFB. That's it. That was easy. That was easy like that. So yeah, Kyle Busch.
Eric,
man, I really wanted to say Zane Smith goes back to back, but. Now I gotta go Kyle Busch. I don't want to lose points. It's lame, but I gotta pick him.
Yeah, I'd like to say John Nemechek, but Kyle Busch, he's going to go with.
Well, as for the podcast panel itself, we're doing a clean sweep on Kyle Busch. Nobody is losing anything, so I'm getting that department. And
the chat.
The chat. Well, we got a clean sweep of Kyle Busch. We might as well.
Yeah.
I'm seeing some Nemechek in there.
Yeah,
but
it's Kyle Busch.
It's Kyle Busch.
That's full Kyle Busch. Well, maybe the Xfinity race will have a little more parity when it comes to who the picks are. Darian, who is your pick to win the Xfinity race?
No, I'm not giving up quite yet. Ty Gibbs, good old Ty Gibbs. I'm not going to pick him for every race this season, but I think he'll have a much better race than last week. Ty Gibbs.
Brian Truex is in the 18 car this week. How about that? So I'm not picking that car. No disrespect to Ryan Truex.
That sounds like such a diss.
I didn't mean to. I was just double checking to make sure Kyle
Damn.
Busch wasn't in this race, but I was like, wait, he's not doing Xfinity this year, at least as far as we know. I was making sure it wasn't like a Hamlin or a Truex, right? But no, I'm gonna go with the guy who's I don't think he's won an Xfinity race yet, but his teammate won it at Daytona, Sheldon Curry.
I'm surprised none of y'all picked this guy. He won here last year in Michael Annette's car. Josh Berry can go get the win at Las Vegas again in the 8 car for the first time this season.
Well, I picked Barry last week, and that didn't turn out too good for me. So I'm going to go with his teammate, Noah Gragson. I think Gragson's performance overall has really shot up in the past, I'd say, last 10 races of last year going into this one. So I think Gragson's going to get the win. Darian, isn't that his hometown track too?
Grayson, yeah. Oh, yeah, he's from Las Vegas.
Yeah,
he went to
winning.
Gorman, though.
Yeah,
he was on the rich side of town.
Well,
doesn't
matter what side of town he's on right now. He's going to be on the winning side of town on Saturday. Now it looks like there's a lot of AJs and a lot of Gragsons. I'm going to put a poll up while we go to the Cup suck picks. So while I do that, Darian, start us off. Who do you think is going to suck this weekend?
For the Cup Series, who is going to suck? I mean, last week when it comes to mine, who's going to suck? Harvick, he obviously had the problems with practice and stuff, but he did end up coming back towards the end. I think it'll stay in the Stewart-Haas Racing camp. He did show some improvement last week, but I do have to see more. So for now, I'm going to say Cole Custer sucks. But until I'm proven otherwise, then I'll stop picking him.
I'm gonna go with I've not been impressed with 2311 Racing to start this year. I'm gonna go with Kurt Busch. I know he won at Las Vegas a couple years ago, but it took him a long time to finally win at his home track. I'm not convinced this is his best place on the schedule. It's so similar to Auto Club, at least as far as high speed. It's an intermediate track. I don't see Kurt Busch running better than 18th.
I ain't gonna say he'll do bad the entire race, but I'm actually going to say a bad day for Chase Elliott this week. All the drama from this past weekend going to carry over, get in his head. He's going to do bad at Las Vegas.
Well, I'm going to continue on this trend here. This poor guy can't catch a break. And, Brad Keselowski's in the field this week. Harrison Burton. And looking at the chat, it was looking like Cole Custer, but I feel like Bubba kind of took control of the chat. So
yeah, I'm seeing
they're going
a lot of Bubbas.
They're going Bubba Wallace when it comes to
another notable mention is Justin Haley. He's had an incident every race this year.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
And as for who the chat is picking, they're agreeing with me this week. Noah Gragson is who they're picking. 137 votes, 58% Noah, and it's been growing slowly but steadily.
As far as the suck pick for this, it's going Bubba, it looks like.
Yeah.
Bubbles. Somebody said Bubbles.
Bubby.
All right, so who's going to be the dark horse this week, Darian?
It's in the RCR camp. I'm going to go with Eric Jones. I mean, there's a lot of drivers to choose from. You have, your Austin Dillons, your Tyler Reddick and stuff, but Eric Jones stuck out to me the most. Because when was the last time we saw the famous 43 up front that consistently in a race? It's been a very, very long time.
Bobby Labonte or maybe Eric Almirola, but
Eric Almirola for Chicagoland 2014 in the playoffs. That'd be the only time, but then he didn't have the best of finishes. But I think Eric Jones will at least get a top 10 this weekend. So Eric Jones.
See, I'm sticking with a Chevy driver, maybe a not as often thought of Chevy driver, but I'm gonna go with Ross Chastain. Heck, I picked him to make the playoffs before the season started. He's got to start making up points at some point. I think a typical traditional mile and a half like this is a good chance for him to do that.
I think my underdog this week is one that we're not going to see too often, but hey, we see him this week. Greg Biffle. I think if he can even hang in the top 25, top 20, that is basically an RCR prepared car. I think this could be a great chance to see what New York racing can do with Greg Biffle behind the wheel here at Las Vegas.
I'm going to stick with this guy since he is, he leads a statistical category that's good. Should he even be a dark horse or an underdog? I'm going Eric Almirola. I think he can go 3 for 3 to start the year with top 10s. As for the chat, I saw a lot of 43s in there.
I see a lot of Suarez's and Jones.
I see a lot of Jones and Ross.
I'm gonna lead just because that's the common denominator of
Jones,
what we've seen. I think it's Eric Jones. So that leaves one last pick.
Who's gonna win? Who's gonna win at Las Vegas?
You're starting.
I'm going first. That's right. I'm going first. That's right. I thought Eric was going first for some reason. All right. So I feel like the obvious suspects are in the Penske and Hendrick Motorsports camp. You have your Kyle Larsons, you have your Ryan Blaney's, your Joey Logano's. I'm going to go outside the box here. What we saw from this guy last week, I think he's got something to prove this week, and he, without a doubt, should have won with how dominant he was. I'm going to say Tyler Reddick gets his first career win in the Cup Series. That's a bit of a risk, but hey, I'm going to go for it.
I was going to take Reddick, but nah, then I'll go with my backup. I'll go with the safe pick. This isn't a fun pick. This isn't an exciting pick, but I'll go Kyle Larson.
I think Larson does it 2 weeks in a row, and I don't think that Reddick brings the same speed 2 weeks in a row. I do think Ryan Blaney is who will win this weekend, though. I'm going with Blaney this weekend.
Well, I am going to go with somebody who is a pretty safe pick for this track. It's Blaney's teammate. I'm going Joey Giggles Logano. I think that Logano is going to get the win this week, and I'm looking at the chat, and it is a landslide for the 5.
Oh yeah, I see a lot of Larson.
It is Larson.
I don't even see a 5.
I see a ton of Reddicks.
No.
Now they have a bunch.
What are you talking about?
I've been watching the chat the whole time, and it's.
I don't know. Put Reddick and Larson up there. I want to see if it's a blowout.
Yeah,
I'm seeing way more Reddick than I am Larson.
Put a
Yeah,
poll.
I haven't seen a
Poll
Larson in a
quick.
while.
I'll put a poll. Okay.
Yeah, so it was Kyle Larson and Tyler Reddick, the two most we're seeing.
I'll say this. I feel good about Reddick. I'm going with Larson because I want to try and make up points on Darian. But Reddick, think about it, he's broke twice this year from the lead, and we're only 3 races in. And let's scrap Daytona. That's Daytona. So the 2 real races, he's blown up while in the lead. At some point, he's going to make it to that finish, right?
Third time's a charm, right? Yeah, I would hope so.
Oh, it's pretty neck and neck after about 49 votes.
I don't know, like it was definitely Larson at first, yeah, but there was just so many Reddicks that just came flying in. I think it was close.
Yeah, I was watching from the start, but yeah, I mean, if they're gonna go with Reddick, they can have Reddick.
Reddick's pulling away.
Yeah, it's 56% for Reddick. Well, I mean, we can wait until maybe we get a few more votes, but I mean, it's looking pretty.
Yeah, they want
There's
to go for
100-something
it.
votes.
All right, let them go for it. Reddick's your pick.
Yep, Reddick. All right, you and me, chat. We're in the same boat again. Stop picking the same driver as me. Yeah, that's the second week in a row.
Picking a defensive line.
I couldn't go the same route you went this week, Darren. I had to do a little different this week.
Yeah.
Well, thank you all for jumping in the chat there. I love seeing all those picks roll through. It's fun, man. But something else I think we should be thanking them for is, their support. So I'm going to roll through these last couple Super Chats because I saw a lot more of them coming in. So let's get into it. Andrew Meyer, thank you for the $5. Says, it was my first Cup race this Sunday, and it was a blast. Ryan Blaney's pit crew was atrocious. The short track is better long-term for this track, though. Well,
glad you had fun.
Yeah, glad you had fun. I hope you have fun if it's a short track. Isaac, thank you for the $5. Says, speaking as a Byron fan, should I be worried about Byron 31st in points with 2 DNFs to start the season? Not yet. GN, thanks for the $5. Says, I was at Auto Club in person. Great weekend in parody. MRN radio on 454 was funny as always. Only complaint was 5-6 lap cautions for single car spins. Fat Dad says, for $10, Chase fan base is one of the most toxic in all of sports. They make it near impossible to root for the guy. Yeah, Larson made a bad move, but good Lord, relax. They act like they know all things 100%. I think that's a lot of fan bases, though. I get the passion of it. Gator Gang 2022 for $5 says, I am an Elliott fan, but I love watching Larson. Feel so bad for Reddick. Shame a few dumbass people give us such a bad name. Be blessed. Byron wins at Vegas. He also says for $2, and I mean a few Chase fans. I get it. Yeah, don't get me wrong. I'm not blaming everybody. Scott McNew says the single lug nut makes it impossible. I'm assuming that's for redoing the
Changing.
tires. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Johnny G for $5 says Larson spotter must be getting nervous. 3 races in, 3 bad spotting calls, resulting in a whole lot of wrecked cars and a lot of mad teammates now.
Yeah, Larson's been a missile. He KO'd Justin Haley. I'll cut him some slack at the Daytona deal, and I think he spun Harvick. That was kind of bad timing. But then he's been a missile this year. That's true.
Gavin Adcock, thank you for the $5, says, as a Larson fan, I don't think he should have won Auto Club. I think either Reddick or Elliott should have won instead. Well, base Larson fan. Scott McNew says, speaking of baseball, where'd it go? Crap. There we go. Nope. There we go. Rob Manfred should be fired, in my opinion. I think you have a lot of people to support you. And also says only 60% great. Wow, I thought it'd be higher about the poll. And thanks for being a member for 5 months. Sean Trailer, thank you for the $5, says, I don't understand how Larson didn't see Chase with the giant Mickey Mouse ears on top of Chase's car. Hashtag go Larson. Philip Richards, thanks for being a member for 10 months. Says, hate being late for the podcast. Hope everything is well. Well, it's all well, and thank you for showing up when you did. It's all good, man.
Thank you.
Thank you for the $5. Says, having old enemies catch up during the stage break at Fontana was awesome. That means we need to see Danica dial up Stenhouse. Yes!
Hey!
Make it happen, Stenhouse.
Holy shit. Come on, Stenhouse, win a stage.
I wonder if they'll actually do that.
Scott McNew, thanks for the $2, says Detroit can give Chicago a run for its money, Jarrett. Oh, yeah, I agree. Vote Kyle 3000 for $5, says Chicago street race. Clevelandburg Lakefront Airport race is where it's at. Ohio loves racing. I'd be down for an airport race at least once. Same with the street race, just not in Chicago. Chips Never 957, thank you for the $5, says Cup Series race at Troy. That's some Canadian stuff, man. Troyes Rivieras. You'll get a street course race and a Canadian race in one event. I'm sorry. I'm bad with English. I'm American.
We're not very cultured here.
Sorry.
Maybe even do a double header with the Pinty series. That'd be really cool. Get some light on them, man.
He understood that.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Oh, I love these names. Twisted_nipples82 for $5 says $5 for Eric's show me where Chicago hurt you on a car doll. That's a laugh I needed. Thanks, guys, for all you do. Well, no problem.
I just noticed I'm fanning myself. Meanwhile, you're freezing to death in there, Jared.
Yeah. You're fanning yourself with sticky notes too. What the heck is that?
Hot Piss, thank you for being a member for 5 months. Says, sorry I missed last week. Shame me? Nah, no shame, man. Thanks.
There's no
for,
shame.
Thanks for
you got stuff you got to do.
Yeah, thanks for coming in when you did. We're happy either way. Thank you for the Super Squad for the $1.69 nice cents. Kylito's Corner, thank you for the $2. Says $2 to buy good luck for C-Bell this weekend. Man, you might need to get a little more, but
I don't know if that's how that works, but
no,
appreciate it.
But thank you. Thank you. And then GN, thank you for the $2. Says Jeff Gluck's poll was at 91.5% for a good race. I mean, we had 89% net positive, and I think
it's close.
In general, we have a little more negative audience when it comes to our voting. So we'll say it broke even. But yeah, that does it for Super Chats rolling in tonight. Thank you guys so much for the support. It's awesome seeing it in the chat, Super Chats, wherever it is. It's cool seeing all y'all. Lick that like button while I'm thinking about it. Let's get those likes up. But as for tonight, one last thing I guess I want to say is happy birthday to my grandpa. It's his birthday. And,
happy birthday.
Happy birthday, sir.
If it wasn't for him, I probably wouldn't be a NASCAR fan. So I think just everyone give a bunch of happy birthdays for him in the chat. But yeah, I think it covers everything I wanted to say for tonight. I don't know about you guys.
Where will we be next week?
Yes, next week we'll be back on Danny's channel. Where is Danny? Danny's down there. We'll be on Danny's channel, March 9th, 8 p.m. Eastern time. Danny, I think we're having a lot of fun stuff to talk about.
Yeah, we'll definitely have a lot to talk about for that one. Join us on my channel. We're already back. We were there last week. Now we're back over here again next week. So see you there at 8 p.m. Eastern time next Wednesday on my channel. If you're not subscribed to my channel, make sure you are subscribed. Subscribe to all 4 of us as well, so you never miss another episode of the NASCAR Weekly Podcast.
And I have one tease I want to say. I don't have anything to announce yet, but next week I've been working on something pretty cool, at least very cool for me. I hope you guys find it fun as well. But next week, I think before we go live on the podcast, so we'll get to talk about it a little on the podcast Wednesday night, I'm going to have a pretty heavy announcement to make for next week's race. So that's going to be exciting stuff. I'm excited about it. I hope everybody else is just as there's no way everybody else is as excited about it as I am, but
No.
I can't wait to share it with everybody.
I'm personally just spooked thinking about it.
I think it's going to surprise a few people, absolutely shock some people, you might say. Anyway, so we'll talk about that next week. But can't wait to be on Danny's channel, back and forth, week after week.
Yep. Well, guys, do we have anything else? Anything else we want to say? We good? We good?
Yep, we all good.
Eric, you got Dale calling you?
Oh shoot! It's just laying on my floor, like upside down, like flipped over. Yeah, but yes, it's here. It's
so bad.
Some carpet fuzz on it, but that's okay. All right. See y'all next week.
Almost.
That sounded better. Oh, that's good. Goodbye.
Green.
Holy moly.
Great job! Yeah!
This guy. Thank you. Wow.
Hell yeah! Woo-hoo! Great job, man!
And we got a crash. Car spinning left and right.
Buddy, let her rip. Rain like hell, baby! Come on! Oh my God, guys! Yes! Yes! Unbelievable! You guys are the best! Yes! 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 Yes!